Such an amazing call. I just want to kind of let's go ahead and everybody's muted right now. Everybody, I've been getting tons of messages and stuff too. Everybody's been diving into your podcast, man. You're just putting out a lot of value. And you and I can carry on a conversation forever just on concept and all kinds of things. But I'd love to just take some of the insight and the knowledge and experience that you've had in the industry and just kind of deliver that overwhelmingly into everybody that can go kind of put that action into their own business. And I think the first step would just be obviously the traditional roadblocks in wholesale, in real estate, in any industry. One is the mindset and the mentality that we can get into a little bit at the tail end of stuff, but it's really just kind of the numbers game. You and I are very analytical, but what types of things that we can expect are a good rudimentary area to kind of get started for the people, and then also the people that have really awesome momentous businesses that are moving right now. What are the a couple of the little things that you're seeing in the volume that you're doing that could shift, make that little shift in somebody's business to start seeing a better success, or that they can go and implement today? First bit, I'd like to just kind of have you tell us a little bit about yourself, your history. We went over about a year ago, right around as you were getting in, and your name was just kind of getting known. We resonated, but we've connected kind of periodically over time. But I'd love to know a little bit about your history in sales, and what brought you into real estate, and what makes you, Liam, be closing.
Okay, well, let's dive into it, man. Thank you for the introduction. So I got my start in sales right out of high school. Actually, I worked as a teller at a local bank, and that's a sales role where you can just refer people to, meet with the bankers and open up accounts, or meet with the money managers and get different financial products set up. So I was referring all these people out, and eventually I went out and I sought out a higher role as a private client banker at a larger institution in my area. So hopped over there, started doing that. And so that was right after high school. I pretty much just turned 18. And that's where I found that I had a pretty good knack for sales. I decided to take a year off from going to college. I sucked at high school. So to me, it just didn't make all that much sense to spend a whole ton of money to go to college when I was probably not going to do any of the coursework and flunk out of it. So decided to move out with my two best friends. And that's when I was working at banking. And I was always like a tech guy. I built games. I built a whole bunch of different tech programs. I used to build websites. I had a small agency for that. And I assumed that once I kind of got my footing, started to figure my shit out, I was going to hop back into college and go and get a degree in cybersecurity or software development, something on that front. But when I started doing the sales, I recognized that I had something of a superpower that I didn't recognize beforehand. And it was nothing that I'd ever expected I was going to be able to utilize. So when I moved to the private client banker, that's a much more personal relationship. And I started to sell off the charts. Within my first 5 months in the bank, I was the number 2 salesman in the entire institution, top salesman in my branch in my area. And I was just crushing it. And long story short, I found out very quickly that the corporate ladder, the corporate chain, trying to work my way up that was not for me. My income was very strictly capped. Our commission, there were certain requirements you had to meet across different sectors. And once you met those, you hit your cap. And once you hit your cap, you cannot go beyond that. So I was doing about double what my cap was. And even when I asked to get my cap raised, they said, no, you got to wait till you get your review 1 year in. And I was like, well, that's goofy. And then my manager, she was really stifling my creativity and wanting me to do things, the way that she laid out, not the way that I did things that was producing for me. And so it just came to this point where I was like, okay, when I'm looking at, what I want my income to be at, what I want my level of opportunity to be at, if I want to get into the multi 6-figure range, I can either work at the bank for another 10 years and get into that level, or I can go out and try and start my own opportunity. So at that time, I was like, okay, what's an opportunity that I'm interested in? What's an opportunity that I can control my own results? And I landed on real estate. I've always been interested. I knew I was always going to be an investor in real estate. So I figured, well, hey, why don't I just start selling it, get a whole bunch of money, and then I'll be familiar with the industry. So in the background, I started to get my license. And the day that I did, I left the bank and went full-time as a realtor. And then actually similarly, actually before I jump to that. So I started as a started just as a regular real estate agent, and the brokerage that I went to, they provided us free leads, free buyer leads, and they sent us, I don't know, 3, 4 of them a day, pretty low quality, but I was setting a bunch of appointments off of them, and I was getting a pretty good flow of clients. And we had these weekly meetings where everybody else in the brokerage was sharing their numbers, and nobody was on target to be getting the number of appointments that they needed to get the number of clients they wanted. And it started to become this repetitive pattern, and all these other agents were complaining that the leads were horrible, but I was just setting appointment after appointment after appointment. And simultaneously, I was finding out that I did not like being a realtor at all. It was horrible work. You're driving out to all these different clients' showings. You are constantly dealing with their emotions. You can get them the most perfect property in the most perfect area that fits all their criteria, and then they still decide they don't want to make a decision. It was like, okay, this is something that's not very good. And at the same time, I was learning a whole bunch about, entrepreneurship, entrepreneurial opportunities. And I realized that even if I became the very best real estate agent in the entire state of Minnesota where I am, they're making, I don't know, 3, 4, 500,000 in like the upper 1 percentile. And then the other, top percenters, there's like, 200,000 around that range. So I was looking at that like, that is after 20 years of work, that's going to be where I'm at. I don't know if I can wait that long to be there. I want to be there sooner. And when I looked at those people too, who are at that level, even when they're at that level, they still have to do the client work. They haven't scaled themselves out of the business. So I wanted to create an opportunity that I could scale myself out of, or I could leverage other people's time to start leveraging, just moving up the entrepreneurial ladder. So what I ended up doing is I talked to all the other agents in my brokerage, and I was like, yo, why don't you just like send me your leads? I will follow up on them. I will do the sales on them. I will set you the appointments. You go on them, you sign them as clients, and then I just get a referral from everything that you close. They're like, yeah, that's totally cool. We don't like working these anyways. So they started sending me the lead flow, and this is where things started to scale. Pretty quickly, I set up a lot of systems in place that made it so I was really efficiently handling all the leads coming in, and I needed to do more. So then I started scaling my outbound operations. So I started doing cold calling on FSBOs, canceled, and expired listings. And once I had all that going, eventually got to a point where my time was so leveraged throughout the day that I needed to go and get another person to start helping me with this. So that's when I went and I made my first hire, and then I incorporated this into an actual business. This was my first sales company that I'd started. So I hired that person to come in and start doing cold calling for me. And long story short, we ended up scaling that to do 3 brokerages. Each brokerage was doing over 100 million in volume each. The largest one was doing about 350 million a year in volume. And we were handling all of the inbound lead flow and generating a bunch of outbound lead flow, setting appointments off of all of it, and then getting listings set. So that was where I was really scaling. And what ended up happening was about 15 months ago now. I was looking for more opportunities to get leads, and I had just been introduced into the investment side of real estate. Because up until that point, I mean, I'd known about investing and taking down my own properties, but I didn't know anything about like wholesale, creative, novations, any of the other, investment transactions. And of course, I'd seen them on the table, but they just weren't my forte. Everything that I was doing was on market retail. So I started to get introduced to that. And then at the same time, we were expanding into getting a whole bunch of other marketing agencies to do marketing for us for these brokerages. And so then I got introduced to iSpeed to Lead, which was a company that had just launched like a month ago. And it was right after last year's Closer Show. And so Closer Show, or not the Closer Show, the Closers Olympics. So the Closers Olympics was a really cool experience where just a bunch of people came on, locked up deals, and there was this guy in the chat. His name was Gene, and he kept spamming his website. Guys, check out iSpeed to Lead. Check out iSpeed to Lead. So I was like, okay, I'll go check it out. I went on, and I was astounded at how cool it was. It was just a marketplace where you could go and buy whatever leads you wanted inside of your market, and they were already pre-generated. They had a bunch of guarantees, and they were pretty high quality. And right after that, he went and hosted, it was called the Closers After Party, he called it. And I hopped on there, and I decided to take some calls and try and lock up some wholesale agreements. And up to that point right there, I had never done an investment call in my life. All my stuff had only been on market retail stuff. But luckily the transition's really simple. And of course, I'd had the entire weekend watching some of the best closers in the game, talking to sellers. And so it was, exact same format, what I was doing before, just a different pitch. So I went in and I think I got a contract locked up on like my second phone call. So that was my introduction. That was where I started to get the feel for what that looked like. And that's where then I took a real in-depth look at my opportunity. Cause I'm all about having a really scalable, a really leveraged opportunity. And for me at that point, I think we had almost 36 inside sales staff that were doing the calls for these 3 brokerages. We were managing agency relationships for like 8 or 9 different agencies across 2 different states that were running billboard ads, radio ads, TV ads, a bunch of PPC direct response. And then of course had the entire outbound team that was doing outbound lead gen. And it was like so much going on. And the only way that I really feasibly saw to scale was just getting more people in, trying to get more efficient systems. But I never saw it becoming like a $1 billion opportunity. And at this point, I was starting to build a relationship with Gene, and I was hosting the closer show. So I would leave my office at about like 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock. I would go home and I would immediately get back into my home office, go live on the closer show and call a whole bunch of leads, lock up deals. And then we started bringing in all these cool guests and getting all the stuff going on. And then it got to a point where I was like, I am tired of, running the sales team during the day. I want to hop in and be full-time with iSpeed. And so then I talked to Gene about it, and he was like, you've got a spot here if you want it, man. Your skill set can be necessary at any point. So that's what I did. Hopped over, made the jump, and ended up exiting that sales company, and I sold it to the biggest of the brokerages that was one of our clients. So that's out in Austin, Texas. So they have that now, and they've adapted it to their use, and I'm no longer involved with that. And now here I am with iSpeed to lead, and my skill sets they're pretty diverse. I've got a unique sort of trait where I really like being on the phone. I really like doing the actual sales, and it's where I got my entire foundation and my basis. But because of my tech background and the way that I used to set up systems and processes and build those out, I also really, really enjoy designing and building out really leveraged systems and processes that create very efficient marketing and sales systems. And so at this point, I know a whole bunch about creating a very efficient marketing system, whether you're doing data marketing. So that's going to be mass SMS, cold calling, direct mail. And then I know a lot about paid ads. So that's going to be PPC. Right now with iSpeed, we are both managing / our own spend about $25,000 a day on paid ads. So got a whole bunch of knowledge on how to create a very leveraged opportunity there. And then once you generate the lead and it comes into the sales process, well, I built an entire sales company. And so those are my 2 main skill sets, is doing the actual on the ball sales and then building the systems behind it to make it super leveraged to help you scale. So today, what I would like to do with you guys is help you guys understand how to set up a really efficient, a really leveraged marketing process. And then on the sales side of things, how to create a really streamlined sales system that's going to allow you to convert at a much higher degree, no matter if you're fantastic on the phones or if you're not that great on the phones. Having a really solid system can really stack the chips in your favor and make it an unfair opportunity. So that's what I'm here to talk about today.
I love it, man. That's great. I know that everyone in here is super pumped about it. I keep getting more and more little links and posts and everybody in here. And I think that's the one thing that comes out of loss. Everyone gets super motivated, and coming into the industry is lacking systems. I pay to be in a lot of big rooms, this, and it doesn't matter how big the deals are going. I know a lot of dumb millionaires, and I know a lot of, very smart millionaires, but a lot of times the ones that just aren't very smart, to just be straightforward about it, they just beat their head into a wall until they figure out a way, is because they're kind of too dumb to know that they're failing, and they just continue moving. And that's a good thing to have, is kind of have that tenacity just to continue moving forward. But is systems and KPIs is the biggest topic. Doesn't matter what room you're in, is understanding and tracking and making sure that you're efficient in what you do. So having a systematized process is incredible, and I'm excited to have you kind of go over that process with everybody. So thank you so much again for your time.
Dude, no
Yeah,
worries.
man, I want to say once again, thank you so much. Lots of juice right there. Lots of value, man. And I've heard your name a bunch of times, and Dustin, he made it rain when he talks about you, man. So wanted to get to know you. I've heard your name. I've seen a lot of your posts. People talk about you. I think I might've seen a video of you. I think you once said like in something coming up, like with what's happening with the market. I think you had said something like the majority of people are going to lose deals to someone like me who knows how to get deals done the right way or something. And I got intrigued by it. I said, that's kind of the way I feel too, about people who are jumping into this business and they're only looking at as far as entrepreneurship, they only look at real estate is the only thing they got to learn. And so they don't even put any time in negotiations or any type of acquisitions. Nothing ever happens for them. And I say, I think if you did say that, then I repeat that from what you said. And I tell my team the same thing, like, hey, I love the fact that I can provide value in this area. Cause in reality, most people are going to lose deals to people like me. When I get on the phone, I'm going to come up and clean it up if they didn't make it happen the first round. And I'm not sure if it was you, but have you made a video of that before?
I have, yeah. I think I
Okay.
said that on stage. I said that on stage when I was at Wholesaling Live, and I think that was cut up and put into a clip. So actually, to touch on that, because that's a really interesting point to make. There is there's no secret that right now the market is in a very heavy shift. I'm calling it a market crash. You know, whether you want to compare it to 2000, if it's comparable to that, whatever. It's a crash. The market's declining. It's going down. So things are in free fall in comparison to what they were in 2020, 2021. So everything about the business is changing, from the types of offers that you need to be able to give and how you need to be able to work with the sellers to come to a resolution. And, you know, there's both positives and negatives to it. So on the positive side, there's a lot more people that are realizing they're missing the boat and they want to sell their house. But on the negative side, it makes it really difficult to understand what the value is of the properties, how to properly comp them and come to an actual offer that's going to be good. And then finding the buyer on the back end is getting tougher and tougher. So the people who did not have robust systems set up on the dispo side, those people are really losing. If they were only selling to hedge funds and they didn't have a system in place to find real buyers, or I guess, you know, the more consistent buyers that aren't just on big institutional money, then they're going to end up losing out over the long run. And to touch on the point of, the people who are going to lose to people like me. What that is, I'm good on the phones, right? But you don't have to be good on the phones to create an advantage that is so stacked in your favor that it's super unfair. You know, I actually am not a big proponent of doing one call closes. Back when I ran my sales team, I had this guy, his name was Jimmy, and Jimmy was the bona fide badass. Like, dude was like 6'5", jacked, tattoos all over, rolled up in his Hellcat every morning to the office. And like, he was in the military. He was a contractor for Blackwater, multiple tours overseas. The dude is, I mean, like legitimately like spec ops. Like, that's the caliber that this guy was. And when you heard him on the phone, he was incredibly intelligent. He was just a shark, and he could convince anybody of anything. He could, you know, tell somebody that the shoes were blue and convince them of it if their shoes were neon green. And every single month, he came in second to a little girl. Her name was Star Garza. She was like 5 foot tall. And what Star had that he didn't have was he was go, 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 go. But she sat back and would actually farm the data that she prospected. So if she got somebody into her web, she would follow up longer, harder, and better than anybody else. And so when I'm saying people like me, it's people that are not only fantastic on the phones, but then also get systems set up and a process set up that will allow them to just keep putting chips in their favor. So those are the things. And so when we're talking about putting chips in our favor, what do we need to do to start doing that? And this is across the board. This is in the game of real estate. It's the easiest business in the world. There's only 3 towers that you ever need to focus on. There's your marketing, there's your sales, and then there's your exit. So whether you're a real estate agent, a wholesaler, you do creative finance, you're trying to take down fix and flips, whether you're trying to take down your own, rentals, all of those are the only 3 parts. The marketing is where you're going to get your leads. The goal for marketing is to find somebody who says, I want an offer on my home. That's it. Once somebody says they want an offer on their home, now you move to your sales process. The goal for your sales process is to get a contract signed. Once you get the contract signed, it moves to your exit, and the exit is how you're going to capitalize on that. So if you're a real estate agent, you list it. If you're a wholesaler, you wholesale it. so on and so forth. But for each of these, there's one rule that needs to be set throughout that will allow you to actually conceptualize your business and understand how to create new opportunities and figure out what your past problems are. And that is your data. The data that you get is the gold that will pay you off over time. And so data needs to be four main things, right? When we're considering data, like I call it just organized data. It needs to be four things. First, your data needs to be on demand. And guys, you should actually write this down. This is one of the best things I was ever taught by this concept of data and how it should be used was taught to me by one of my marketing mentors. His name was Ryan Fletcher. And Ryan was the chief marketing officer for the largest division of a company called Agora. And Agora is the largest copywriting firm in the entire world. So one of the largest marketing companies in the entire world. And he was a chief marketing officer for their most profitable division. So he knows a fucking ton about marketing. So this is what he taught me about data and how it should be used. So first, data needs to be on demand. So these, when you're like, if I came to you and I asked you, so what are your numbers? What are your historical contact rates? How many leads got contacted on your first attempt? How about the second attempt, the third attempt? Or what percent responded by phone? What percent responded by email? How many offers did you make today? How many offers does it take on average to get an offer accepted? If I ask you any of those things, you should have data collected and a way to be able to pull that out and get that put together very quickly, right? Because that brings us to number two, data gives you insights. So you want to be tracking the data that will give you the insights. And there's two types of insights that you can focus on. They're going to be problems. So this is, let's say I have a cold call operation going on and all of a sudden, everything falls to zero. I'm not getting any leads coming through and I don't know what's going on. Well, I can go into my data, I can take a look at it and I can see, okay, so the number of dials is fine. So it's not that. Okay, the contact rate, whoa, hang on. The contact rate is only 1%. What's going on there? And I look past past the contact rate, like, yeah, like when we're getting in contact, everything's fine, but this contact rate's super low. Now we can start to find a solution for that because, okay, contact rate's low. Well, either the data's bad or my phone number's bad. Most likely my phone number's bad. Cycling a new phone number, contact rate goes up. Look at that. My data just helped me solve a problem. So that's the first thing. Data solves problems. And second is that data will give you new opportunities. So when you're looking at it, you will be able to see that, hey, you know what? There's probably an efficiency to create here. There's some way that I can leverage this in my favor and I can start. So like an example is follow-ups. We know that even if you are the best one-call closer in the entire world, every one-call close you get, those I call unicorn deals. Unicorn deals are really awesome. I love to get them. Everybody loves to get them. And in fact, I recommend most beginners start by only trying to get a unicorn deal rather than building a perfect system and process. But the thing is you can't develop consistency off of unicorn deals. Because let's just like a unicorn deal, it will feed you for weeks, but they're spaced months apart. So you don't get them as consistently as you need to if you want to scale your business. So the ones that aren't unicorn deals, well, do you throw those people away because they're not ready to sell right now? No. Those are going to be people that you need to follow up with. And so if you're following up and your data tells you that if you follow up 20 times versus 5 times on a lead, and that quadruples the rate at which you get contract signed, well, there you go. Your data has just shown you a new opportunity that if you follow up more, you will get more deals. Super simple. So that's the second part, right? So first, data needs to be on demand. Second, your data needs to give you insights. But third, your data needs to be accurate. So you got to make sure that whatever systems you have to get this logged, it needs to be proper and in place. Because think about it, right? When we're trying to diagnose problems, let's just use the example of like, if you went to the doctor and you went and you just weren't feeling right. Something was wrong. And so the doctor decided to do a blood test. They pulled out your blood. They sent it off to the lab, but then the lab mixed up your blood with somebody else's. That other person's blood was totally fine, but yours had cancer, and they get your results back and say, yeah, you were totally fine. Holy shit, you're screwed. Because that wasn't accurate data. What they got, they've mixed it up. It wasn't accurate. Now you have an incorrect diagnosis and you're going to suffer from it. You have cancer. You might die. Super horrible. So that's the third thing. Your data needs to be accurate. Whatever you do, make sure it's being tracked properly. And then fourth, your data needs to be easily shareable. This is for two main reasons. First is for collaboration. So let's say, I reached out to Dustin and said, yo, I've got this fantastic system, man. And I know you've got an excellent, audience. And I think that we can collaborate on this here. And he's like, okay, well, show me the proof it's any good. Cool. Now I can easily share data with him that proves that whatever I'm doing is super successful. He's going to be like, cool, this is amazing. Boom. And then the other thing is that your data serves as proof of concept. So this is going to be like, in an internal team, when you're teaching people, there's a reason why you do what you do. So when you're sharing this and you share it as proof, is like, look, this is why we do what we do. It answers all the questions. That way you don't have to convince people to do stuff, because look, when it just shows very plainly that what you do works. So yeah, the data is the foundation for your system through and through. So no matter, you want your data to be able to tell the tale of your business from start to finish. So what that would look like on a really high level is, let's say on my marketing, I'm going to do cold calling. Well, first, what I'm going to do is I'm going to associate the costs. So I'm going to figure out, okay, for 1,000 records, let's just say like every time my marketing cycle, it's 1,000 records before I renew that marketing cycle. So 1,000 records, let's say it costs me, $1 each to pull and $1 each to skip trace. So $2,000 for those records. And those records take me 10 hours to call through, and each hour is $100 an hour. And I'm just saying this to keep it really easy. These aren't realistic costs, but so then it costs me $1,000 in labor. So this total list to get through it costs me $3,000. So now that I understand that, okay, to work through this list and get it all pulled in whatever, $3,000. From there, what I can do is start to tie it to numbers. So we can say, okay, so our contact rate on this 1,000 is 10%. So we're going to get 100 people to pick up the phone. And of those 100 people, we're going to get 10 people who are actually leads. So those 10 people who are actually leads, we're going to so $3,000 of total cost. We got 10 leads out of it. Okay. Wow. Okay. So that's going to be what, like $300 a lead. Now you know exactly what your cost per lead is. Now that you have these leads, you push them to your sales system and you do the same thing. So each of these leads costs $300. Well, how many leads on average does it take to get a contract? If it takes all 10, and so then okay, so $300 cost per lead. It takes 10 of them to get a contract. My cost per contract is $3,000. The average assignment then for these contracts is $15,000. Well, look at that. I'm getting a 5-to-1 ROI. Now you have an ROI and cool, I can dump all of my spend right back into the front end. And if I keep doing the systems the same way I have it set up, then my opportunity will keep going and going and going and going and going. And over time, the margins will start to get thinner and thinner. And then eventually just kind of reach a plateau point where they're about as thick as they're going to get. And you're at scale and you need to figure out a new opportunity if you want to create bigger margins for yourself. But that's what your data needs to be able to do, is tell the tale all the way through your business from start to finish. Does anybody have any questions off that? Let me read the chat, because I see you guys have got a whole bunch of stuff in here. No questions in there. What kind of questions do you guys have so far? None. Okay, that's fine. So once we get organized data into our business, well now, right, that's like the 1,000-foot view. How do we start setting up systems and processes to create really efficient systems? So to create efficient systems, what I always do is I map stuff out. That's the first thing that I like to do. And I've got a really easy framework that you guys can understand to how to start mapping your processes out. And what you do is I always start with the pen and paper. I just want to get everything and just do a brain dump on there. And here's how I do it. So I get my paper and I think, so what is the problem that I'm going to try to solve? For this example, I'm going to use like my marketing system. So if I'm trying to build a marketing system, well, I know the goal of a marketing system is to find a lead, and a lead is somebody who wants to sell their home. They've told me that. Oh, wait, hang on. That's got a good question. What's the difference between the cash on cash versus ROI when looking at cost per lead? How is that looked at? Well, it totally depends on what systems you're doing. Like the cash on cash return, it's a variable. Tough question to answer without like specifics. Maybe I don't quite understand the question fully. If you could try and like word that just a little bit differently.
So Mason, is that Mason? Let me unmute you.
I think it's a little bit different, Mason. Return on investment. It's kind of like looking like how there's alcohol and there's tequila and vodka and stuff. Well, return on investment is a lot of things. There's annualized, amortized, cash on cash, interest only. So I guess he was just saying he actually explained it. It cost me $3,000 for a lead, right? So his cash on cash is 3,000, but what did he wholesale it for 15,000? So his ROI on his cash on cash is 500% or something. Just to answer the question. Yeah, just to answer the question. It kind of confused me, but I understood what you were trying to say.
Okay. Yeah. And really ROI also probably isn't the right term for me to use. It should be ROAS, return on ad spend, where you know that if you spend this much, then by the time you capitalize it and you get a check in your pocket, that's how much it is. So ROAS is really the term. It's just not as known inside of the real estate space, but in the marketing space, it's more well known. Let's see. Any questions? Shall I write them down? And Anthony says, I have one for PPC leads. Are you able to get custom plans set up for your business? And if so, what is the minimum requirement for a request? Anthony, I'll talk about that afterwards. I don't want to do like a sales pitch for you guys or whatever right now on that, but definitely can talk about that. So I'm gonna dive back into what I was talking about here. So setting up systems and the framework to how to create systems. The first thing that you do is you figure out what your macro goal is, right? There's micro and then there's macro. So the macro is when we're looking at my marketing process as a whole. Well, the end goal is I want to find somebody who wants to sell their house. Once that has been met, my marketing system has served its function. So perfect. That's the end goal. So what I'm going to do is on my paper, I'm going to write that down at the very bottom, found lead. Then what I do is I begin to work backwards. And so whatever I'm currently doing for it and how I'm doing that, right? Because the first step is always to take action. Like just start putting stuff in play. You don't need to map it out first. Just start putting stuff in play and figure out what works. But then, right, once you're taking action on it and you've got kind of a repetitive thing that you're doing, then map it out. That's an important note to have. Action is going to drive the results more than having really efficient systems. Begin with action. But so start on the bottom with that macro goal and then just do a brain dump with everything that you need to do before you find that lead. So what that looks like if I were doing cold calling, well, before I find somebody who's interested in selling, well, I need to get them on the phone. Well, before I get them on the phone, I need to call them. And before I call them, I need to upload them to the dialer. And before I can upload them to the dialer, well, I need to get their phone numbers. So that's skip tracing. But before I can skip trace them, well, I need the list. And before I get the list, I've got to figure out what my search parameters are and what list I want to pull. And before I got to do that, I have to figure out what system I'm going to use for that. So then when I'm writing it down, I'm just going to have this giant dump of a whole bunch of stuff. And eventually it's going to get to a spot where I get to the top and it's like, there's no steps before that. It's all going to start with me going to Google and being like, propstream.com and pulling that up or whatever I'm going to be using for it. Now that I have this macro page set up, this is where you can start to tie stuff together. Because what ends up happening is people will start to just create a chain right through there. They will just draw a line straight through, and just connect all those together and consider it good. It's good to go right there. And it's like a very simple, that creates a very simple flow chart. But now what you want to do is now that you have all like the macro goal and all of the things that need to happen, what you do is you start to group together similar tasks or similar objects that you've written down on there. So for example, I would group together all like, the pulling the list and getting it skip traced. That to me seems like they're pretty similar. So I'll group those together and all the related objectives that I need to have that happen. And what I will do is I will group those together and I will pull them off to the side and I will put them in a box and I will call those phase 1. And what I do is at the phase 1, then there's going to be a specific goal for phase 1. These are your micro goals. So the micro goal for phase 1, if I'm going to be pulling a list and then getting it skip traced, is that I have organized records ready for upload. That's what my goal for phase 1 is. So then what I can do is the exact same thing that I had before, all those different things I'd written down. I create them in an organized process under this phase, starting from square one, where I'm going to make the search. I'm going to pull the list. I'm going to upload the list to the skip tracing software. I'm going to get the records returned and combed and cleaned. I'm going to organize them the way I want to organize them. And then I'm going to upload them to like my list master sheet or whatever you want to call it. And that right there, now it is all ready for upload. Perfect. That goal has been completed, that micro goal. Now what we do is just like how we made that group for phase 1. Well, then we're going to go make a group for phase 2, which is everything that happens after that, or it's going to be the similar things that happen after that. So getting it all loaded up and getting the campaign set up, that would be for me phase 2 for cold calling. So that would be uploading it into the system, making sure it's mapped properly, the right phone numbers are assigned to the campaign, and then getting it mapped out on my sales staff calendar so they can start making the actual dials on it. That is phase 2. And what I do is I just go through and exactly how I do things, how I've documented doing it. I put them into play under phase 2. And then I put down that micro goal for phase 2 is data is loaded into campaign ready for dials. Then everything below that, I can put into phase 3. And so then phase 3 would be actually making the dials and how we're going to consider the data to be expended. So for me, what I do is, by the way, if anybody's ever calling a list of data and they're only calling it one time or only doing a mass SMS on it one time, you're missing out on a huge amount of nuggets. Like the first time you call through that list, it's going to have two things. It's going to have straight cash, and then it's going to have like stocks inside of it. The straight cash, that's what you're going to get out of it, that first dial through. Those are the people that are leads right off the bat, and you can move them through. They're going to be, pay you right now. But the stocks, those are the ones that you've still got to go through, and they take a little bit more work to sift out. And so you've got to make sure that you're accurately sifting through that. So inside of my phase 3 for contacts, how I would have it set up is time block the sales staff or whoever's doing the dials day. So that way they know when they're meant to be dialing this group. And then what I would do is I would set a least acceptable parameter. So the least acceptable for me is like for cold calling would be contact rates. If the contact rate drops below 3% on a dial through, then that's the last time this list gets called. And then I go back and I start from phase 1. So like my final phase of actually doing the contacts will be make 500 dials day 1, make 500 dials day 2. If there's 1,000 lists, okay, well, I got through this in 2 days. And then you're tracking the numbers this whole time. So that way you can start to figure out what the opportunities are. And if the opportunity says that the contact rate on the first dial through is 10%, that's not below my minimum standard. So then I'll dial through it again, and dial through it again, and dial through it again until my contact rate drops below 3%. And then once that happens, cool, this list is expended. I might even move it off to do a mass SMS blast on it, might not, depending on what list it is, how expensive it was. But from there, right, I just have a documented approach that I do every single time, over and over and over and over again. Because with this documented approach, now you can begin to hire for it. Because think, phase 1, you have this documented approach, you have a specific way that you do this every single time. So guess what? You can create like a little video series of, guys, when you want to do this, here's exactly how you do it. And now you can hire somebody that can run phase 1 for you, get the list pulled. They know the parameters. And that way, with this documented approach, you can take somebody who might not understand this role yet, and you can just give them exactly how to do it. And now they just do it exactly how you've done it. And eventually they're going to be so good at it that they can start to expand on it and add new steps or trim steps up that are useless and make it an even more efficient process. And it goes through this iterative cycle that keeps getting it better and better and better. Same thing goes all throughout. It's like on the contacts, you can have a whole bunch of little trainings in it for how to actually, have these conversations with leads. What is considered, or with the prospects, what is considered a lead and when do you move to the sales process? If you're doing the cold calling, are you the person that's going to translate into doing the actual sales conversation? And that's a delineation that I'd make if you guys are using VAs. Your VAs, a common thing that I see people complain to me about is they will talk about their VAs and be like, man, they're sending me all these really low, unqualified leads or whatever. My answer to that is so fucking what? Like the goal that your VAs have for you is they just need to find somebody who wants to sell. It doesn't matter if it's tomorrow, a month, a year, whatever. Your sales system should be able to incorporate that and handle people that aren't ready to sell right now. If you're complaining about those, you have a problem with the sales system, not your marketing process. So, but also I don't want VAs to be having sales conversations. I just want them to qualify, because in marketing, the real goal is volume. You want to get through as many people as possible, as fast as possible. So that right there is the framework to how to start creating systems in your business. To recap, pen and paper, I would just write out your macro goal for the system, to write down just a whole brain dump of everything that happens before that, group the similar ones into phases, and each phase will have a micro goal, and to move to the next phase when that micro goal has been met. Then once you're at the very end and the final, micro goal has been met, and so micro goal 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for phase 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 are all done. Cool. The system is complete. Loop right back to the beginning. Go again, go again, go again. And it iterates. Same thing for your sales process. You can build a very similar system just like that. Same thing for your exit strategy, no matter what it is. These documented approaches, these are actually what make your business sellable. So right now, like the business opportunities that I'm involved in, I have my investment company, but I also am the chief marketing officer for a prop tech startup, right? iSpeed to Lead. That we are trying to build that into being the most sellable asset ever, because businesses are fucking fire assets. And if you guys are really wanting to start, grow your wealth over the long run, understanding how to build and scale sellable businesses, that's huge. These SOPs that you build out are what make your business sellable, because they're unique to you. These are what people want, because it makes every single role interchangeable. teachable, and hireable for. So that's the framework to how to start getting your business set up for massive leverage and massive success. I'm going to go through the chat and see what kind of questions we have, if we have any. A lot of fires
Awesome.
like those.
A lot of fire. If anybody has any questions, raise your hands.
Yeah, raise your hands. We'll go ahead and request unmute just to make sure that we don't have any like crosstalk or anything kind of coming in here, and made sure everybody was muted. So use the
Duran
little raise
says,
hand reaction.
Duran says, where do you get your data and DNC data? I'm not the best person to answer that, in all honesty. All of my marketing is through paid ads. I don't do any outbound operations anymore, data marketing. For iSpeed, we are currently split testing, doing some outbound mass SMS to generate leads for the platform. Currently, it's all either paid ads, so that's going to be Facebook, Google. We also have SEO, which is search engine optimization, which the lead quality is very similar to paid ads, but it's organic. So you just pay like $20,000 upfront to get a really well-ranked website built, and then it just pays off organically over time. But for us on the back end, what we use, it's the data company that the big skip tracers use, because that you need to have a big corporate contract with them with like a minimum spend with them a month. So because we've got the resources, we can do that, but our data is significantly more accurate. So we're testing that and seeing how that goes. And I can't say who it is publicly yet because we haven't like gone through the testing phase with that. But when you're looking at like Batch and PropStream and really any skip tracing service, how they actually handle their data, what they do is they go to companies like the one that I'm working with, and they get their records skipped. So let's say like you want to skip 123 Main Street. If that's the first time Batch has ever skipped 123 Main Street, where they're going to go and get a brand new record for you. But then let's say tomorrow, Mark goes and tries to skip 123 Main Street. He will get that same record. They're not going to pay for it to get skipped again. And then they will, each company has their own specific time frame at which they will go and reskip it. When it's 3 months, 6 months, everybody's different. It's impossible to know unless you're actually on the back end. But that's how they do it, which is why when you're using those companies, the quality of records is generally a little bit lower than if you have like a first level skip.
Beautiful. Awesome. John, you are unmuted. Go ahead and ask your question, my guy.
Hey, what's up, guys? First of all, thanks for being here, Liam. You are a data bank of knowledge, and it's always good to hear you speak.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, brother. I know you're the PPC king as far as all that stuff goes. I know PPC is expensive. Like as far as that goes, would running paid ads on Facebook, that's not PPC, right? That's just inbound marketing.
So that's pay per click.
Anytime that you're paying for people to see an ad, that's considered PPC. So Facebook is PPC, Google is PPC. If you run ads on Bing, that's PPC. TikTok is PPC. Anytime where you're paying to get something in front of them and they need to tap on it and fill stuff out, that's considered PPC. It's all under the umbrella. Then there's,
Gotcha.
Google ads, PPC, and then it just splits up from there.
So Facebook and Google ads would probably be the cheaper route to get started for that, right?
Facebook. So let's talk about like the differences in cost and quality. So Facebook, if you're going to be running Facebook towards a cold audience and trying to build your campaign off of that, it's going to be lower quality than if you're doing a Google PPC campaign. And the reason for that is because of intent. When somebody goes and types into Google, I want to sell my house fast for cash, that is intent built in right there. They have intent, we know it, and then we're competitive on keywords like, sell house fast, sell for cash, whatever. Like there's a really good chance right now if you go to Google and type like sell my house for cash, there's probably like an 80% chance one of my websites will pop up. We don't bid on things that like are common iBuyer terms. Like we're not going to try and be competitive if somebody searches Open Door or Zillow or any of those terms. We don't want that traffic because those people are generally retail. And that is going to be higher quality than Facebook. However, each lead is going to be more expensive. In terms of cost per lead, it is 1 billion% dependent on your market. It has such a wide range. It's totally dependent on what market you want, how many different counties, all that stuff. There's a bunch of factors that go into that. But for Facebook, if you're delivering it to a cold audience or you're just trying to build an audience based on, there's a whole bunch of different ways you can start to build an audience on it. But let's just say you're just starting, so you have to do it on cold audience. Then those are going to be lower quality because those are going to be like display ads. People click those. One thing that people do that oftentimes decreases the lead quality is that they don't have a good conversion page. So let's talk about that for a moment, like conversion pages and what makes a good and bad conversion page. I'm going to actually share my screen really quick, and I will share an example of a good conversion page and a bad conversion page. Let's see here. Well, I don't know where my browser went. Try that again here. Can you guys see my browser?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I can see it.
So here's an example of a good one. This is the one that we like show to our prospective clients. It's not tied to anything. So right here, what you're going to see is one input, enter your address. When you go down, building trust, ease, trust, ease, trust. Super simple. It's the page is simple enough that it loads very quickly. So if I copy this and I go to like page speed test, I'll just have this run in the background. And then, so the user experience here, when they type it in, you see it's going to autofill. It's going to pull them through. It's going to be answering a whole bunch of questions. This here is going to make sure that people who are tire kickers, they're not going to worry about filling this out. They are going to give up quickly. So this is going to filter people out. Oftentimes on Facebook, which is going to be like Instagram as well, what they have is going to be one of the actual Facebook integrated forms. And those people can do a one-tap fill out where it's like one page where it's like an attack of like, yo, fill all this shit out. So you see here, we take a look at this. So performance on mobile is 98, performance on desktop 99, right? It's a super fast load speed. The performance is fantastic. That way Google will rank this higher than anybody else's when we run paid ads to this. The downside, this website is not good for SEO. So when we're looking at this here, this doesn't have any backlinks. There's nothing that tells Google that this is a well-connected real website that's out there. But if I go to Google right now and I search sell house fast, let's do like Chris buys home Minneapolis. I'm in Minneapolis. So this guy here, he's got a carrot site. So I know a lot of you guys might have carrot sites. Carrot sites are good for SEO. They're bad to run ads to. Why? Well, look at this. You're going to assault them with filling out all this. There's about 100% chance. Once I fill this out and I hit this, he's not going to get any extra information from me. There's no extra step afterwards. And then there's a whole bunch of links everywhere. It's like I can come and click how it works, compare our company. There's not something on the screen at all times where I get their stuff. I'm going to go get lost. They need to have backlinks, right? So all these different articles. And this makes it a lower converting website. And then also when I come here and I copy this and I paste it into page speed insights, we'll let that load. So Facebook, when you have the integrated forms, those are not fantastic because you want to run it to an actual web page that will have a good conversion and have a good mobile score. And the other thing is, so what we do, because we run Facebook ads as well, but what we do is we run Facebook off of retargeting, which means somebody has already come to one of our websites like this here. They've already checked it out and they gave up partially way through. Then we can do retargeting on them so that they keep seeing our ads and then they will eventually fill it out. So like this here, you see performance 47, desktop 91. Most people, about 60, 70% of people come through mobile. So 47 on mobile is not very good. So yeah, I will stop sharing the screen there now. But that is, that's what's important on there. So Facebook, if you're running it off of retargeting, the lead quality will be a little bit lower, but the cheaper cost of the lead will offset it significantly. And Google ads, those are like the cream of the crop. Those are the highest quality leads that you can really get. Michael says, Liam, how many screens do I have? I have two monitors. Is there software you use to collect data? Yes. I mean, we collect data on literally everything at all points. We track where people's mice are on the screen. We track, everything they type. If I come in and I type, fuck you, guess what? On the back end, the software is going to be able to pull that out and know exactly what somebody typed there. We're pulling out everything. And in fact, a new product that we're launching, we're still figuring out the name. I like the name Treasure Chest. Other people don't. What it does, it's a piece of software that sits on the back end of the website, and it collects the second that they land on the website, it collects their name, address, and phone number. And so then it's like you're going to be collecting all that. So yeah, we collect data on everything. And is there software that's a bit that's tough to answer. I mean, it's all yeah, it's everywhere.
There's one more question right there. It says from Max, what are some resources for a phase one? Where's that at right there? Let's see. Here it is. What are some resources for a phase one skip or higher quality info?
You know, to be honest, I'm not totally certain. I don't know who provides it besides these actual data companies. I know that for us, our contract, I believe it was like a $15,000 deposit and then a minimum of like $5,000 to $7,000 in skips a month for us to be able to use them. So it's an expensive option, but because we're doing it en masse, well, that's why we can afford it.
Right. So Jen got a question, said, what about a website that combines services and market to sellers and buyers? Do you think attracting sellers or buyers should only be advertised on that website?
So what you can do is you can set up different pages in your website. You generally want to keep those separated because each page you want it to have a specific goal and intention. If a seller comes on, but they're reading a whole bunch of stuff about how they can help out buyers, well, that's every second that they're on there, because they're only going to spend so much time on your site. That's a second wasted that you could be pushing them towards getting a goal completed, such as getting their information, getting them to fill out your stuff. So you generally want two different funnels that point to those two different pages, and that each page has a separate goal. You generally don't want to combine them all into one big thing, because then the buyers won't know exactly what's going on. The sellers won't know exactly what's going on. And so then it's like you're doing both of them half-assed rather than doing both of them well.
Nice. That's fire. Anybody have any other questions?
Oh, I know there's plenty out there. Right?
Any comments? Come on, guys, put yourself off mute. I mean, I have a lot of like compliments and a lot of stuff that I want to get off, but I want other people to talk.
Yeah, I let everybody unmute yourselves. So you guys are free to go. Go ahead and unmute.
This guy just dropped like a whole fucking wealth of knowledge, and everybody's either like brain is scrambled or maybe they think the question isn't as valuable as it is, but ask the question, even if you want to say thanks. There's a lot of fire he dropped.
Yeah, there's no bad questions. There's no bad questions at all.
Definitely. Thank you. Brain is scrambled. I'm just keeping up. Thank you.
Oh man, thank you. I'm listening to those numbers and I'm like, wow, 25,000. So let me ask you this, on a website like that, if somebody said, all right, today I'm going to drop 20 grand and I'm ready to get started on this service. And you said, okay, well, you'll make that over time. I don't think anybody asked this, but how long do you think it would take approximately, based off of your KPIs, would it take for that person to say, all right, good, I made my 20,000 back. Okay, like, do you think it pays 10 times over? What is something that somebody can expect by doing that?
So timeline wise, whenever you're starting a new marketing system, doesn't matter what it is, whether you're building an SEO site, you're running ads, you're going to dive into cold calling, the minimum amount of time you need to test it for is 3 months. That's the minimum amount of time, because at that 3-month mark, that's where you're going to be having accurate data of a refined campaign. So that's where you're going to be having your systems and processes in place for your cold calling, or your ad sets running properly. Your ad's been trained, so it's converting at the right level. And so by that 90-day mark, that's where you should start to see the return on ad spend start to kick in. And in terms of what your return will be, that is almost entirely dependent on your sales and exit process. To me, the sales process is more important than the exit strategy, but to like put it into perspective, we have people that are running large nationwide campaigns and they're getting like a 3 to 4 to 1 ROI. So they're spending 20,000 a month, they're getting 60 to 80,000 back. That's not bad. What they lack though is like a really robust sales process that follows up like infinitely long or has these really high level of efficiencies built in. Comparatively, like the person I like to use is my marketing mentor, Ryan Fletcher. He's got a small operation just in like a very specific part of Virginia, and he's getting, I don't know, 12 to 1, 15 to 1, 20 to 1 ROI, like insane numbers, because he has super robust processes that don't let leads fall out of his pipeline, and he follows up with them longer than anybody else ever will. And he's got fantastic salespeople in place, and he understands the marketing aspect of it and how to make it very leveraged and efficient. So it's very skill set dependent. What I recommend to people is that you generally want to be able to like there's two leverages. There's time leverage and there's capital leverage. Time leverage is where you're leveraging your time to get outsized results. And then capital leverage is where you're using money to get outsized results. Things like cold calling, those will always start as time leverage, where you're putting the time into making the dials yourself. Then you can begin to incorporate capital leverage to where you can use capital to leverage other people to leverage their time. So that's like using VAs, but the time aspect always has to be there no matter what. Paid ads on the other end, those are pretty much 100% capital leverage, where if you want to upscale your lead flow, well, you just say, cool, I'm going to just double my budget, you double the amount of leads. So those are the two types of leverage, time leverage and capital leverage. I recommend that if you want to start scaling your business, start by doing time leverage. If somebody comes to me and says, hey, I've got $100,000, I've never done a wholesale deal, I want to spend it all on Google Ads, I will turn that person away, because that's not going to be successful long-term. That's not somebody that it needs to come in and get the highest quality leads, right? Like when you're thinking about it, even if you got money, you don't go and buy a Rolls Royce right off the bat. You know, you don't go and buy a race car right off the bat if you're learning how to drive. You're going to go get a beater because you're going to make mistakes. The best way to learn mistakes and to increase your skill set is by putting out volume and putting in a lot of time. So that's going to be by doing the busy work, the hard work, which is making the cold calls, doing the mass SMS, setting up a process first, because then you actually have an understanding and appreciation for what a good lead is. So like, for example, for PPC, whenever you're getting a PPC lead, whether or not that person wants to convert, about 80–85% of the time, that person does actually want to sell their house. Comparatively to cold calling, you're going to be getting, 400 to 500 no's before you get somebody who actually wants to sell their house and get an offer. So that's like the difference right there. But if you jump into PPC or you jump into these higher leverage marketing systems without understanding the time, that you're understanding how to build the process first and doing the time leverage stuff, then you just lack an appreciation for how high quality the leads are. So that way you can know how hard you need to work them, but also you lack an understanding of building really good systems and processes. And that is going to lead to your downfall. So I would say, on that front, anybody who's starting, start with time leverage, then move to capital leverage. When you're looking at all the top investors, every single one of them uses PPC. And then to answer the question about ROI, that's going to depend on how good your sales process is, and then how many different exit strategies you have available to you. Do you just wholesale? Do you have a listing referral network? Do you do creative deals, novations? That's going to increase the ROI. And then also it's going to be about what market are you in, right? Because your market's going to determine what your average cost per contract is. But then those same markets will also determine what your average cost per or profit per deal is. So like California, the average cost per contract is like $5,000 to $7,000, but the average deal size there is like $30,000 plus. So, right, it makes sense on the back end. But yeah, those are all the things that go into that.
Yeah.
Amazing answer. Value. Thank you.
Fire.
Yep.
Yeah. And with the time part, and that's what the time part is. I'll add a note to that, as well as a lot of things that you said at the beginning, which is like, you've got a call, like a number that may have been thrown into the spam list, so that your connect rate is down. Or let's say you're making outbound calls from a current system and you're only making, doing a connect rate, but your calls aren't on spam. Tracking and making sure that you're not just doing the time, making sure that time is dealt efficiently, and you have the things that you repeatedly do to ensure that you're reaching the numbers that you need to, is very important. If you're just running off a multi-line dialer and just think that volume is going to get you where you're going to be at, but you're actually not connecting with a good amount of people, maybe you need to make a shift. But if you don't have access to that data and you don't have those bullet points of things that you're actively putting into your system, you're shooting yourself in the foot. Plus, if you were to go directly into, let's say, PPC from that without understanding those fundamentals and going through the trial of setting up a proper system, then you lack thereof when you get to PPC. But now you're paying out the butt high cost because of intent base, and you're gonna, not gonna be able to capitalize on that. That's why there's a flow of this, but it requires you to really pay attention to what you're doing on a granular scale so that you can make sure that you're capitalizing on it 100%. I love everything Liam said. That was great.
Super fire. So we have Brandy has a question, and then David. So Brandy, go ahead and ask your question.
Hi, Liam. My question is, could you expound more on you said the rate, the contact rate, and when you decide to move on or whatever pipeline you're gonna put it in at that point. Can you expound more, because I missed those things?
So expand more, I guess in what way? Could you be a bit more specific?
So the last note I got was if the contact rate is less than 3%, then, and I'm missing, I have question marks there. Or like if you contacted them,
Mhm.
I guess like a month ago, like when do you go back to contact them again? And would you use this medium? Would you do a SMS, or would you do a call at that point?
Got it. Okay. Yeah. So to answer those questions, I want to contact that list as many times as possible in a short period of time. So when I'm looking at creating a system that's super repeatable, instead of trying to jump around between a bunch of different lists, I want to focus my effort on one list and expand or expend that list as much as I possibly can. So if we think of like this list, it's a big thing of pay dirt. It's just this big block, and you put it into your sifter, and your sifter, how hard you or how many times you hit it, that's the different levels of strainers you have. And the first time you call through, those are pretty big holes. And so the only things that get caught as it's going through are just the biggest nuggets of gold. And it gets finer and finer and finer and finer until all of a sudden, all of the dirt and sand is washed away and you're left only with the valuable pieces there. So what I would do is the first time you call through, then what you do is you track your numbers and you set some sort of metric. So that can be any metric that you find the most valuable to you. That can be contact rate. So that's how many people actually answer the phone and are the actual leads. Or not the actual leads, but are the actual homeowners. So what I consider a contact is if somebody picks up the phone and they're the actual homeowner, boom, that's a contact. So you can base it off of contact rate. You can base it off of like a lead ratio. So like if you're calling, if you make like 500 dials and you get, let's say 50 leads out of it. So it's like, 10% lead ratio, which would be crazy. That's a good metric to look at too. So those are a bunch of different things. You figure out what's valuable to you. And then what you do is you set a minimum standard. So the minimum standard is if it hits this or goes below this, I've considered this list expended, and I will go and now skip a new list and work through that list. Wash, rinse, repeat, wash, rinse, repeat. Personally, I much prefer cold calling to mass SMS because I guess I'm a bit more classic. I like being on the phone. I like listening to people on the phone. You can build a relationship on the phone. You can control the conversation more on the phone. You don't have to wait for a whole bunch of back and forth. You can get it all done right now. So, and I haven't done data marketing really since I've been inside of the investment space. I just consult for a lot of really big teams that do it, and this is what's really working for them. And so then I would recommend you do as well is after you can do like a bunch of cold calling on it until it's expended, I would do at least one mass SMS blast on it. So then like your process for like your phase 4 or whatever, which is the micro goal for that is contact the seller or get in contact with the seller. And then from there, it moved to like phase 5, which is the actual conversation you have. But in that phase, like contact the seller, then it would just be going through this until it's expended. And then you can set that standard to whatever you want it to be. So yeah, that's how I would do that. I prefer cold calling to SMS, but I would always I'd recommend throwing an SMS.
Thank you.
No problem.
All right, David, go ahead and ask away.
Yeah. Hey, Liam. How's it going?
I'm doing fantastic.
So good. So just basically got out of like a 3-day seminar where they were, wanting a pretty, heavy upfront investment. With my business I have right now, I do solar, and I've also, done real estate. I have an inactive real estate license, and I am here in Idaho. So I guess my question is what would you recommend as far as, kind of doing your first deal, in wholesale? It's kind of tough up here because the real estate market is really, really high. So there's not a whole lot of wholesale opportunities, but how would you kind of, structure your first deal, or what would you look for in your first deal just to kind of get your feet wet and get started?
So what I recommend for anybody's first deal, I recommend they go and try and find a unicorn. So that's going to be somebody who needs to sell badly right now. Everything's going wrong. They have tons of repairs to be made. It is an absolute sweetheart deal. It's like everything just lines up and it's perfect. What I see a lot of beginners do is they start doing, you know, what they find a marketing process that they can adapt to. They start doing it. And then the first time they find somebody who wants to sell, they don't know how to handle it. And then they all of a sudden dump all of their time and effort into, you know, fitting this square peg in through a round hole. Go and find a round peg instead. That's what I would recommend. And so at that spot, I would recommend you do one of two things, right? So knowing that, okay, don't waste your time on difficult deals. Just go and try and find a really easy deal, get some money to roll back into your marketing spend or to build systems out and to create consistency. You got two ways that I can really recommend anybody do that. And option A, let's say you don't have that much money. Well, you've got to utilize time leverage. You either have money or you have time. If you have neither, you make time, you find time. There's always time. You can always make time. So what you do is you're going to go through and either going to do the cold calling yourself, you're going to do the mass SMS yourself, you're going to go door knock yourself, and you're going to do that until you find a sweetheart deal. That is what I recommend. If you have money and you're running other businesses and you know how to do sales and you don't have a lot of time to expend, then I 100% recommend hopping onto my platform called iSpeed to Lead and just picking up a really motivated lead from there. So I'll share my screen. I'll explain exactly what that is and how it's useful, when you should use it, who shouldn't use it.
Awesome.
And the best way to use it as a tool. Let me see really quick, just signing in. All right, can you guys see my browser?
Yeah.
So what this is, all of these leads are generated via PPC. So when I was talking about them going through forms and filling all that out, what we've done is we've fronted all the spend to get all of these leads generated in every single market and across the US. We've got almost 45,000 leads on the platform right now. And you can come in and buy them one by one by one. So you don't have to commit to a big budget. You don't have to commit to 90 days of running a campaign. And the really nice thing about it is that not only did we already spend to generate the lead, we have an inside sales team that reaches out to every single lead and confirms that they're actually motivated to sell and that their identity is real. So you get to see all the information about them before you actually buy the lead, which makes it so it makes it very tough to make a mistake. And then on the back end, we have a refund guarantee where if a lead is either on the market, if it's under contract with a wholesaler, or the information they provided was all wrong, then you'll get a refund on that lead and you can roll it back into buying more stuff. So this is what I recommend to people in a couple situations. A, if you have money and you don't have a lot of time. B, if you're scaling up your business and you want to just put your foot in the water to test PPC and see if it's right for you. Or C, if you're already running a high level business and you want to cherry pick like the most high quality leads ever. Our real goal for this is we want to have the very Rolls Royce of leads. We do everything we can to make this as high quality as possible. So it's, you know, it adds up. And by the way, everybody, whoever stays to the end, I've got $175 is going to go on to everybody for all you guys who sign up here at the end. But yeah, this is what I recommend if you have money. But if you don't have money, don't gamble what you can't lose. If you got, you know, $1,000 to your name and you're like, fuck, I need a deal, do not go here and buy a lead. I mean, that's the last thing I would ever recommend you do. If you have money and you don't have a lot of time, do this. If you don't have money, don't do it. That's what I would say.
Awesome. Thanks, Ben.
John, do you have another question? You're on mute.
Yeah, I got one more, brother. This one's kind of specific, but Liam, as far as ClickFunnels go and automating a ClickFunnel, what key systems and softwares would you recommend integrating that with?
So for
if
me,
I'm going through Facebook ads.
So for Facebook ads, yeah, ClickFunnels. ClickFunnels it's not a bad option for setting up a good conversion page. What I recommend doing is you want it to be integrated to your CRM. So whatever you're using. So I know
John,
Dustin has a fantastic. What was
yeah,
that?
you're already in mine. So that's something that we're going over training, getting people integrated into right now. So yeah.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
And so, yeah, on the back end, then all you need to do is you can use Zapier, you can use a whole bunch of these different integrations tools that whenever they submit a form, it'll pull that data out and port it over to the CRM. And I believe, I know Go High Level also has an actual Google Ads integration. So that way you're going to have all the trackers on the actual ClickFunnels page. And then it's just going to submit straight over from that ad campaign. And you're going to have that ad campaign tied into your CRM, which Dustin's, I know, is fucking fantastic. So that's the way to do that.
Sweet. Thank you.
Honestly, what my recommendation is, though, is by and large, you probably want somebody to build the page for you. There's a whole lot to learn in making a really high quality squeeze page. And then same thing in running the ads. If it's something you want to get into, I also recommend trying to find somebody to run it. And like, obviously I'm somebody who can do that, but I would say go and search out people who are experts in it. Like for me, like right now, iSpeed is worth about $35 million. We're doing a bunch of other deals across the board for all of our other businesses. The single thing that I want to be able to, pass on to my children and my children's children is to use money as a tool. Money is not a resource. It is a tool to be used. And so I will always spend my money on who, not how. It's just like the very first basis for what a true entrepreneur is. Figuring out who can do it for me, not how can I do it myself, not how can I learn it. So like right now, we're spending $750,000 a month running ads. I don't know the specifics of how to run our ads. If you wanted to grill me on like what keywords we're using, what our negative keywords list is, what markets we're targeting, all that stuff, I've got no clue. What we went out and did is we got the very best experts and we hired consultants to teach our team exactly what to do. And then we integrated all the knowledge that we had from all the other ads we've run. And now they have all their operating procedures to run that. It's just the same thing of who, not how. That's for anything, always. I always want to do who, not how. Like that's why, you see Dustin, who's in, the very highest level rooms because he's paying to be in there, who, not how. So I would recommend if you want to get into PPC, I am yet to date to see like, I've never seen somebody who did not have a really strong background in marketing come in and start their own ad campaign and be highly successful with it. That's what I would say. Hire an expert always.
That's awesome.
Whether that's me or otherwise. There's a million companies that do it. And I would say almost every single one does a really fantastic job. That's not even the sales pitch towards come work with me. Anybody that you know in your circle that you trust, that's the thing. Running ads is a really big thing. It's about trust. So if you don't trust the person, do not work with them at all. That's the thing. Otherwise, anybody who's got a robust operation, they can get it done and you can get results from it.
Gotcha. Who said that? Who, not how? Was that Winston Churchill?
I'm not sure. That
was somebody. I'll have to figure that out. Right on. Thank you, bro.
Nah,
yeah,
Liam
absolutely.
B. Hosen said that. You coined it.
I wish, man. I'm not that cool.
Oh, right.
Yeah, there's a book on it too.
Yeah, no, it was great. Amazing, man. Just such incredible value and information. And that is so true. Is also a lot of you guys in here are either just getting started, you have an established business, or you have a business in another, parallel industry that works in complements, but you don't have the manpower. There's a lot of things and systems that will help you multiply yourself by setting up, the correct automations, setting things up so that you can, create an efficient process or system that makes you be able to put out with the same effort, the same time frame, 2x, 3x, 4x, 5x, 10x the amount of what you would be doing. And so I think if you are actively getting out there trying to find deals, or just going the traditional route of what everybody's saying is skip trace this, buy this, do that, just take a second and then figure out what your individual system is. The fundamentals are always the same, which is going to be like, what is a lead? What is, the parameters that I want to stick within, but how do I make this efficient for myself? And then go the route of doing that. Obviously, I have a CRM that does that. And as Liam has said, that's something that I'm very passionate about, going against the grain of what the industry currently is saying in order to make sure that you can, be as efficient and have the most current information and knowledge and the support in order to kind of get there. But again, it's not a sales pitch. You can go any direction or any route, but I can guarantee you'll probably circle back around because you'll see kind of, what's missing from other areas. But
The
figure out
biggest
how
thing,
you,
a note on that, and sorry to interrupt, but a note on that everybody should take home is whatever system you start with, see it through, build it
Yeah.
into something world class. So many beginners start to get shiny object syndrome, and like they'll do cold calling for like 2 weeks and be like, oh man, I'm not getting any results, and they'll jump to the next thing, and then they're not getting any results, and they jump to the next thing. But there's an inflection point. It's a graph where your growth is slow, and then all of a sudden goes parabolic and it shoots right up, right? And so at that point where it goes from here to going like this right here, that's the inflection point. Most people, they go do, and they get here, and even though it's going to switch right up here, they end up giving up right here, and then they go and they start again, and they start again, and they start again, and then they're never successful. So whatever you start with, whatever you decide to do, mass texting, cold calling, or PPC, dive in fully, commit to it for at least 90 days, ideally 6 months, and give it your fully best bet.
yes, that is so important. I completely wholeheartedly agree. I come from a marketing background, the same thing. The number one thing is everyone, you may not think that you're going for, like, let's say instant gratification, but a lot of times if you don't see something turn into money or compound itself, you get that, fear, the fear bug kind of gets in there, and you're like, oh no, I'm not making money. Let me go ahead and change something. But you don't get the appropriate data in order to actually get that. It takes compounding effort. It takes time. This is why also Liam has said, if you don't have the money and you have your last little bit of money, don't go into the pay to play space, because it does take time and a lot more money than you think in order to start getting those results and start seeing that through. And that little bug in the back of your head, the fear, when you have the last couple dollars sitting in there, is going to make you, ruin your own results and get in there and mess things up. So yes, systems, multiply yourself, figure out what that is, take a step back if you need to, even if you are doing current efforts right now, and figure out how that you can, what your system and process is, because that's truly what's going to make sure that you can get those results. Because nobody in here, in the leader area, really likes spray and pray. We don't live by that. We live by actionable, tangible things that we can track and redirect our efforts towards, so that we can optimize our time. Because the whole goal of us doing this is to reclaim our time, right? Not find more ways to consume our time due to inefficiencies. So that would be my one thing.
I think that people get this game a little bit twisted, because a lot of people don't come from a sales background, negotiation background, marketing or branding or real estate. And so they think they see a whole bunch of people around them coming in a little bit, newer than they are, getting deals done. And so people like to compare. And the reality of the game, because I come from a heavy background of sales, it's the lead generation part. If you stop that part, the momentum part, it'll die out. And for people who are listening, what I mean is that for you to get into a business that's going to have to bring in clients, right, some type of sales progress or process, it takes a lot of time. Like in the car business, every month is a new month, meaning you got to start back at zero, and it never changes. If you're on the front end, if you're the one doing the actual calls yourself or lead generation yourself, and you haven't leveled up yourself to the next level and just automated that, like put a who there, then it's always going to be time consuming. It doesn't really change that part. So like your leads, how you build attention for your business so people know who you are and how you're going to build out your business. Lead generation is going to be like super important, but the close is in the follow-up. That's where everything's at. But just because you keep doing enough lead generation, so you're building this momentum, and then you have enough leads in the pipeline that are in the follow-up, if you let go your foot off of the gas, what happens is you're no longer bringing in new leads. You're not generating leads. Or if you haven't automated it yet, right? You're no longer bringing in new leads, but you feel like you're busy because you have a pipeline that's full from the follow-up. Eventually, when you close all those deals, you maneuver through them and you stop your momentum, you get through that pipeline, you're done. Lead generation never stops. But if you're down there and you haven't automated that part to have the lead generation come in, it'll always be like that. So don't get it in your mind where, oh my God, 2 weeks or 3 weeks, anything you've done from the first day you started driving a car to, how you drive now. I mean, you're so much better. Same thing if you just tied your shoes, like the first day you did it, it took you some time. So right here, takes a little bit of time, not 30 days, not 60 days. Imagine when the first time you got in shape from being out of shape, first time you played a sport, was it overnight or was it in the first 30 days where you got to your best point? Probably not, right? This is business and it's very repetitive. Each month you start all over, depending in your position. If you're at, if you leveled yourself up and you can just automate it, then the lead generation will come without any more of your efforts. But for the majority of people who are newer entrepreneurs and you're doing almost everything for your business, lead generation is the way you're going to feed your business, and how you're going to close those deals is in the follow-up. Just wanted to add
What?
to
Yeah,
that.
exactly on that point. Some beginners, what happens is they dive deep into their marketing process and they start doing a ton of cold calls. They start doing a ton of really cool actions and they're starting to get deals. But when they get the deals in their pipeline, they shift focus away from the marketing and they lose the consistency in it. And they try and focus on getting the deals they have on their plate done. And then all of a sudden they realize once they get those deals pushed through and they get paid, then their pipeline's totally dry. And so then they start to panic and then they go back and they start marketing really hard again because they have no deals. And then, then those deals will come through. And what ends up happening is then they just go in this like up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, where it's like, a few deals chasing the high, great. Then they let go of their marketing and then it goes back down. So the consistency in your marketing, like if you have a good month where you get double the amount of deals that you've ever done before, that entire month, you need to then be marketing twice as hard as you ever have before, because that's how you're going to make your results compound, scale, and grow. As long as you have the capacity to handle more deals, then keep tripling down on the marketing as often as you can. That's the marketing is what, that's the starting point that feeds all the other facets of the business.
So fire, man. So much knowledge from you, bro. I learned a lot today, man. Lots about systems in place. That's what I'm setting up right now. Dustin's helping me out. I started off where I ran out of some money trying to build out this powerhouse. So then I had learned the whole system, how to basically build my whole name and basically an empire, and didn't spend any money until last month. Basically, I've purchased 11 homes, I've wholesaled a whole bunch, helped a lot of people, but I had to learn with limited funds, or actually no funds, pretty much negative. And it still didn't slow me down because I was believing in myself, and I was already all in. I had nothing else I can do. I was already all in. I jumped off into the deep end and pulled out the ladder. So I figured out how to do it with no money, man. And how I did it was when I jumped into Omar's business and jumped out, I realized I like those leads, right? So when I had here's a free tip for everybody on how to get some leads as well. For when you don't have much money, just use social media. Obviously, you don't have to pay for that part, right? How I did it was I knew that I had some value and knew how to close. So if you guys can bring some type of value, doesn't need to be closing, but if you can bring some type of value to somebody else and put it out there, I just added like 100 Facebook groups that had to do with wholesaling in the markets that I was in and real estate. And I had made a post that said, hey, my name's Carlos. I closed X amount of deals in a short period of time. I come from a background of heavy sales, and I put something out there that was like, hey, if you can't close due to your 9 to 5, or maybe you're too nervous, don't know how to overcome, let me close your deals. And I repeated that action daily in like 100 groups. And after like March and April, May, it really started to build out. And from there now, leads since then, and I did it consistently up till now, leads always fall in my lap now. And it's nice. That's one tip, right? But now I'm at the point where now I'm like, yo, Dustin, help me out with the CRM. Let's get some leads in here. Let's get some acquisitions people in here. What's the next step for me to get to like Liam's spot and then further, right? So what you dropped for me was like game changing for me. I was like, all right, cool. You leveled up my mind on what I need to put in place for systems. So thank you so much, man.
Dude, I appreciate you for the invite today, man. This was a lot of fun. I love answering questions. My favorite thing. It's the problem though, that I get so many DMs about people asking stuff. And then like, I spend like 2 hours a day, just like leaving voice notes for everybody. And I'm like, oh shit, I got stuff to do. But it's, this is genuinely my favorite thing, which is why, whole reason why I released a podcast where it's just like exactly what I covered today, where I'll have like a very specific problem that people are facing in like 15 minutes or less, give you a very specific solution with, through the lens of storytelling. And that's just like giving as much value out to people as I possibly can, just because, there's a lot of misconceptions on how to properly scale and run the business. And I mean, can only go up by helping everybody else do it their way.
Thank you.
Great,
guys.
Thank you so much.
Everybody who's still here, I said that I had $175 for everybody. If you want to go and get that for anything on iSpeed. So first, I just put in the chat a link. That link, when you go there and sign up, that is tied right now. You're going to get $50 in balance on the account right off the gate. And then using the Powerhouse special code POWER125, you get then $125 off of anything, or just you one lead, whether it's brand new, clearance, whatever, any lead you want, you get $125. and it's that's good until 9 p.m. Eastern time tonight.
Love it. Love it.
That's
Thanks,
awesome.
man. Everybody say thank you to this gentleman right here, spending his time, bringing in some discounts for us and throwing out some treats for us. So there's so much knowledge.
Rate
Thank
the
you.
podcast
Thank
on
you.
Spotify
Thank
too.
you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you guys for being here. This is a lot of fun. You guys are awesome.
So
Thank
in
you
the
so
chat
much,
man. Thank you.
as well, guys, inside the chat. Yeah, Cameron breaks his speakers getting excited.
Can we
every
get some
single day.
fucking cheering in this chat, baby? Come on now, folks. He just gave out $125 in leads. Let's go.
Oh,
Guys, in essence, he gave us more than $125, bro. If you guys can close that lead, you'll get paid.
Hell
Yeah,
yeah.
we
Oh,
gotta
my
send
guy
him a
John's
check.
in here. John, I didn't even see you, man. What's up? Yeah, John's closed some deals, man. John has closed some deals.
So
Do you
I'm gonna
have to
put
use
inside-
it tonight? Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's good until
by
9
tonight.
p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The $50 will stay on your account until you want to use that. That's just tied. That's also tied to this link right here. It's the code register. That's good also until tonight. That's just, or it'll get you the $50 until tonight. You can sign up.
Because you sign up for free and then you'll get a credit on there for $50.
Exactly. Yeah. Signing up's 100% free. And then use the code POWER125, give you $125 off anything.
So I just posted that back in there. Also, guys, the way you can show your appreciation, if you guys love what's coming in here, and this is a long form thing, everybody's been in here for a while. It's a lot to kind of digest. Liam did just release a short consumable podcast of about 15 minutes, and it's got incredible fire every single time. Showing a little bit of love and support and review and sharing that around is going to be great to get that information out to others, as well as help him rank on that. I posted the link inside the chat right there. So if you guys could go ahead and just like pop into that podcast, show a little bit of appreciation on his socials, listen to it. If you gain value, take a screenshot, share it on his social and stuff. He's really putting his time into that just because he wants to share the value, just like he did inside this call. Thanks so much, man.
So you put
Thank you guys. Thank you guys.
Appreciate you.
You put that code in the promo code, right?
No, not in the promo code. Nope. That's going to be on checkout. When you're signing up, if you don't, that should say register. If it says register, you know that you did it right. If it doesn't say register, then you don't get the $50. Yeah. Power 125. That's not the promo code. Keep it as register.
I did it.
Yep.
Okay, I kept that as
Yep.
register.
The promo code you use at checkout. The Power 125 works at checkout.
At checkout. Okay, perfect. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All right, I'm good.
All right, guys.
Awesome, guys. Liam, I want to be very respectful of your time. You've given a lot of time in here today for us. If anybody has any urgent questions, if you're available for just a moment longer, do you have a quick little second?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Any questions people have? I've still got another 20 minutes.
Awesome, guys. We got some people dropping out. Anybody got any questions? I know that there's a lot to
Everybody's
digest.
signing up right now.
Mike, there we go.
Hey, bro. So I got a quick question. I know you're working on getting the skip tracing in your CRM, but for the time being, I do have a list of driving for dollars. And then I want to skip trace, but I don't want to go to somebody that I shouldn't. I know there's different levels of skip tracing, what Liam mentioned. But who do you Carlos, Dustin, Liam, who do you guys refer us to go to? Because I'm looking to skip trace right now, and I know there's a ton of other platforms to get them from, but who should we go in the meantime of you getting it into the CRM?
So yeah, I've got a kind of a list of preferreds that I've been going through that I can send out to you guys. But yeah, it is a dime a dozen every day that they're coming up. A lot of the same, they're literally just kind of pulling the same data most of the time, and just packing on their own fees to it.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I'll send out kind of a good running list. You guys can get that
I
going.
do have a question. Since I am trying to get into this with you, this group and investment, but I'm an agent, the selection for the speed for lead is one or the other. It doesn't do both, right?
What do you mean? Say one more time.
Well, I had to choose agent or wholesale. So
Yeah. We have leads for both agents or wholesalers. Just choose whatever you are primarily. It won't change anything else. You still get to see everything.
Oh, okay, perfect. Thank you.
That's pretty good. Yeah. So Yonetti, either, if you're taking it on as a wholesaler, click that. But if you're taking it on as an agent, click that,
Okay,
Okay.
okay.
Fire. Any let's see, like let's say sales or timeline to get started, questions that you may have for Liam at this quick moment. We'll go ahead and let him out a bit early. I know that he's been talking for a good amount of time, and I know how that can give you a nice dry mouth and kind of suck on your energy. So thank you so much for kind of giving that energy to us, man. It's we feel it. If anybody's got any questions, pop out. Everybody's given the ability to unmute, so you're all available here.
I have a question. Once we get a lead and we close it, is there any payout or any extra percentage that go to speed to lead?
Nope. That's all yours.
Okay, thanks.
He answered. I was like, where'd he go?
Yeah, I think his camera timed out.
Oh, no, did it? Damn.
Yeah.
No, you disappeared. You're a vampire, bro. The background's still there, but you're not.
Damn, now you guys know it was a green screen.
It's perfect.
You're good. You're good.
Judge Benson's how it looked.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you so much for that incredible value, man. This is gonna be recorded. So I mean, I know it's a lot to digest, guys. You'll be able to really kind of go through with a fine-tooth comb, pick away the things. But if anything, if you take anything from it, no matter where your budget at, whether you've got a lot of money in the bank to go ahead and buy them, awesome. If you don't, I think your best bet, since it is time, is to put a lot of thought into the time and the efficiency and really kind of get granular with that, so that you can, no matter if you have an hour or 2 hours or whatnot, that you're efficient with it, so that we can all succeed. And you have the support inside this community to make that happen. So yeah, really get granular on that and kind of map it out, just like Liam had stated, map everything out to what your standards are.
And if you, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I thought you were done.
No, you're good. You're good. Go ahead and carry.
If anybody comes to any questions that they didn't realize they had now, but they think of it later, feel free to send it to me on any of the social medias. Just look up Liam Benson. I'll pop up. And if you send me a message, then I usually respond to those pretty quickly. So let me know. Always love answering questions free of charge.
Awesome. Thank you.
Free of charge. I love it. Boom.
The only condition.
No, I got a quick question myself. Hi guys. I jumped on. This is Dorian. I jumped on super late because we a partner of mine. We have one of those Toro businesses, so we had to go 2.5 hours ago and pick up a car. What do you call it? That guy that had a blowout from one of our customers and stuff. I had to go to. I live in LA. I had to go to Redlands, so I'm just barely getting back right now. So I've been dying to try to catch this Zoom meeting all week and stuff. And so is this I think Carlos, you were just mentioning this is going to be this was recorded, right?
It is recorded, yeah. So actually inside of the Powerhouse group, so in the links over there, this is actually live right now. So the live will be automatically hosted inside the Powerhouse group. So you'll be able to replay this pretty much instantly. Will be recorded, so the recording will be kind of sent out as well. So you'll go ahead and get access to that. So okay, most definitely, guys. And like I said, it's a lot to digest, guys. And it just takes a lot of, one foot in front of the other. Liam didn't get here overnight. It's a lot of trial and error, a lot of money spent, a lot of money lost, perfecting what he's doing. But if you don't track that and you don't have set mile markers that you're consistently watching, there's no way to really make those leaps and bounds that you need to. So I'd say just if you're going to take one thing, grab a piece of paper and just start mapping out what that process looks like for you individually with the time that you can commit to this business.
That's nice.
Awesome, man. Liam, thank you so much for your time. If anybody else has very last minute question, you have about 5 seconds before we let Liam go ahead and get on his way.
I don't have a question for Liam. I just have a question. Does anybody have a cash buyer script that they send for SMS or call calls?
So that's something I'm working on putting into the system as well, guys. So that'll be pushed out as you do that. But
when will the
the promo code be active? That Power 125 isn't working.
So Power 125, you use that at checkout.
Oh, I check it.
Yep, when you're signing up, make sure that in the promo code it says register. If it doesn't say register, then you will miss out on the $50 balance. The promo code or the Power 125, yeah, you use that at checkout.
Thank you.
So it says select, it gives you 5 states to select from, right?
Yeah, so it's got all 50 states, and you just select whatever 5 states, or you don't have to select all 5. You can select, just 1 or 2, but
Well,
those
Carlos,
just select
you
up to 5.
Yeah, Carlos mentioned Florida, Texas, somewhere else, I don't remember.
Oh, those are my main markets.
Yeah, I want to follow the trend.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Southern Eastern states, fire states.
Fire states.
Georgia's, both Carolinas, Tennessee's.
Oh, okay. I understand.
Awesome. Liam,
Georgia's full. Georgia is full.
Georgia is full.
Yeah, Georgia's hot. I have a lot of mine.
When I press Georgia, a bunch of stuff comes out. Okay.
All right, Liam, I just want to thank you guys so much for
Liam.
your time in here. I know the Powerhouse Zoom generally starts in the next 13 minutes, so we are going to be open and carrying on with the normal things. You can stay inside the Zoom if you want to. Powerhouse is a community built by Carlos here, which is sales and acquisitions all through the creative model. We do live calls every morning and every evening. And so if you're not part of the Powerhouse, because I know this has been put out, is follow the links inside the chat. Get involved in the community. We are always working to build the community to the value of everybody. Consume as much of Liam's content as you can. It's always fire. Join in on the podcast. That he said it's free, but there's a cost. Go listen to the 15 minutes. He dedicated almost 2 hours of his time here. Put about 15 minutes into listening to one of those guys. Go ahead and share a review and just send him a message of some of the value that you grabbed from him, so that he can go ahead and feel the love, because I know he dropped a lot today. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Thank you guys. Thank you guys for being here. It was so much fun. Thank you for hosting. Thank you for having me. It was a fantastic time.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Awesome. Thanks so much, Liam. We'll connect on another note here shortly.
Thank you, brother.
Awesome. Thank you, Liam.
Yeah, thank you, Liam.
All right, guys, I'm headed out now. See you guys later.
See you, Liam. Thank you. Bye.
Are we jumping off and back?